Okay. This magazine is called Time for Kids. That's the name of the magazine type. This issue, which means the one that I have in my hands and that you have now, is called Kids Who Care. It's about children who are doing things for other people, which means even though these children don't go to Bryant, they're following the Bryant way. They, of course, take care of themselves, and in doing so, they had some good ideas of things they could do, not just for themselves, but for other people. And so there are kind of, I think there are four or five stories inside that tell us about each person. I don't have, again, when I went to school to collect your supplies, I left a lot of my supplies there. So I don't have all of my tools with me, but you have yours, so please get your tool bag ready. And then I will decide on whether I'll just work on it or I'll show you some of it, but this is the only tool I have, is one black marker. I need to go finding some tools so I can be doing the same work. To see if I can find a store that might have these near me. Although I am trying to stay inside a lot, like recommendations are for everyone in the United States. Okay, but I think we can still do it. We've done this often enough that I think we can still work on it. But I would like you to show me your pages as we do each section. Okay, so looking at the front cover, this will be a longer lesson than we've had so far. About the time we do it in class, about 20 minutes, just so you know. On the front cover, there's a girl, and she's holding a thumb up and pointing to something, and it said, Kids Who Care. Right underneath that main headline, the big information that captures our attention to look at something in a newspaper or magazine, it's called a headline. Head because it's usually at the top, and bigger and bolder print so we see it quickly. And then we read the text or the words underneath. The words underneath say, find out about kids who are helping their communities. Okay, so that's really two parts of the Bryant way. When we take care of ourselves, we take care of each other, and instead of it just being the school, which is the Bryant way, they're taking care of their community. Maybe that could be something to look at and think about as a change, an addition to the Bryant way, is that we also care about our community. Or maybe just people in 103 could do that. Maybe that might be one of our first philosophy questions next week. Okay, you write that down to remember. Okay, and then in very small print, the caption, Ms. Sorensen has been talking about captions when you've come to Hawks United, if you were able to come to her class in the 3 Hawks United classes we had before we had the school change. It says, Haley Fort grows food to give others. Okay, I'm opening up to the inside now. On this side, can you see the headline with red print? That says, do good, feel good. Let me read it and then we'll do some work with that. It says, and if you can want to read along with me and point to the words, the first word starts with a capital H in small writing underneath. Helping out in your community is important. Read about some kids who have started projects to help others. What can you do to help out where you live? Make a plan and get started. Ooh, I heard a lot of kindergarten words in here. Let me read it again, and then if you want to, we read this again, and then please have your red marker ready. You can use red marker or crayon, your choice. And then as I'm reading, and you're looking at the words, then please underline the ones in red that are kindergarten. Helping out in your community is important. Purple punctuation. Read about some kids who have started projects to help others. Purple punctuation. What can you do to help out where you live? Purple punctuation. Question mark. Make a plan and get started. Purple punctuation. Exclamation point. Okay. Ooh, that was a lot. Right. Then I'm going to look at the blue writing with the blue frame box that shows a boy in a green shirt. His name is Connor. The headline in dark blue, bigger and bold print above the smaller text, says, "He helps animals." Ready? Connor Jones makes and sells artwork. The money goes to help animals at a shelter. Okay, I'll read them and then I'll read them a second time, and then please underline as you're reading and listening to it the second time. Ready? He helps animals. Purple punctuation. Connor Jones makes and sells artwork. Purple punctuation. The money goes to help animals at a shelter. Purple punctuation. And I can see that picture. Look at what a good person. He has a picture of his artwork in his hand. And then there's food for the animals at the shelter on the floor behind him. I'm impressed with Connor. If you're ready to do some labeling lines, you can do that. You can make a sign from the word artwork to what he's holding in his hand, or from the word Connor to him, or shelter to the area behind him. You can see where it's kind of like caged lines. Or from the word help, you could draw to the food. Something new. Artwork. That's called a compound word. That's one of our new learnings for next week. We're going to spend some time talking about artwork. Artwork are words that are together, but if we separated the two parts, they would each be a word by itself. Art, work, artwork. That's a compound word, and we'll be spending time next week. Okay, next one. Let's look at the green box with the green writing that shows a girl with a plaid shirt standing, looks like it might be school. Okay. I'll read it, and then we'll read it a second time to do the word search. She gives away backpacks. Abigail West collects backpacks and school supplies for kids in her town. She gets donations from others. Okay, ready? She gives away backpacks. Purple punctuation. Abigail West collects backpacks and school supplies for kids in her town. She gets donations from others. 2 purple punctuations. Did you see them? And would you get an orange crayon or marker ready? We will do some first grade words. The word for. See if you can find the word for. F-O-R. It's in the second line, kind of in the middle. That's a first grade word. Her. H-E-R. At the end of the first line. That's a first grade word. Gets. That's in the bottom line. G. Yeah, okay, you know. That starts with a G. That's a first grade word. From. We've written that in our messages to friends. From is a first grade word. Okay, thank you. Now let's look at the purple writing and the purple framed box. These magazines are so easy and good to use because of the use of color to help us know exactly where we should be. The purple frame box shows a boy in a purple t-shirt he's wearing, so it's connected there. Standing behind a mannequin. That's like it's a copy of a person that usually is in stores with clothing to show people the type of clothing that store is selling. Okay, let me read it first. He makes clothes. Whoa. Xavier Elliott learned how to sew. He makes clothes to give to people who need them. It feels good to help others, he says. Yeah. Okay. Red, ready. He makes clothes. Purple punctuation. Xavier Elliott learned how to sew. Purple punctuation. He makes clothes to give to people who need them. Purple punctuation. It feels good to help others, he says. Purple punctuation. There's also a curvy comma and the quotation marks. Did you see those? You could make those be purple too because those are more punctuation marks. Wow, good for you. Oh, labeling lines. I forgot to do labeling lines for Abigail's picture, and now let's do it for Xavier's. You could point to the word clothes with your labeling line, or his name starts with an X, Xavier. And for Abigail, the first word, Abigail, starts with an A. You could use that to point to her, smiling person. Backpacks at the end of the first line, you could use that to point to the backpacks on the floor behind her. She's in a school, so you could use the word school to point to the back. Artwork, backpack, backpack, compound word. Okay. I'm going to turn to this page now with the kind of yellow print and the yellow frame. It shows a picture of a boy sitting in a truck back. It says, you ready to listen? He collects food. William Winslow doesn't want anyone to be hungry. He plans food drives and collects food to give away to others. Good for you, William. He collects a lot of food, if that's what he's sitting among in that truck. Okay, red ready? He collects food. Purple punctuation. William Winslow doesn't want anyone to be hungry. He plans food drives and collects food to give away to others. Purple punctuation. Okay, and orange, let's do the orange word give, if you can find that. And then later today, if you want to go back into the purple and green boxes and underline some first grade words you know. Okay, then I'm just going to read the bottom part, the did you know part. That says, did you know? And it has the big yellow question mark. Every year on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, or MLK Day, people all over the country come together to help out where they live. Says this year MLK Day is on January 18. So the idea of helping people, extending a hand, being a helping hand, having a helping hand, giving a helping hand, was the big message in this book, in this magazine, Kids Who Care. But then I just noticed the artist who worked on this page, there are people who write, just like in a book, that they're writers. the authors of the text. Then instead of illustrations, there are photographers. All of these are jobs that people have, careers. There are people who take the photographs. Then there are designers who, what's called layout, compound word, layout, who lay out the page in just the right way. Do I want the big picture here or the big picture here? Those are jobs, artists, designers, graphic designers, who prepare things for us to look at. And I just noticed this cool border across the top, a pattern of hands. Each unit of the pattern is the part that repeats itself, and that's the yellow hand, green hand, red hand, purple hand, blue hand. Well, 5. Nice. And then the unit starts again. If you wanted to do something extra, you could draw a line between each unit of hands. That's math work. So this would be an addition part. When people look at patterns and they watch for the units, the pattern units, they sometimes make lines between them to show the units. Bing, bing, brain. So you could draw a line between the yellow over here, yellow, green, red, purple, blue, new line, yellow, green, red, purple, blue, new line, and then you could count them up and see how many units of the pattern are in the top design. The back page, as always, is something to do separately, and you can do that whenever you want to. This is a this page makes me think about Mr. Jones, because this is a map page. Hey, Mr. Jones, I'm thinking about you and missing you, and students in room 102. This is a map page with some different kind of map work than we have done with Nation or World, so feel free to do that. Thanks for working on this. We're going to do more of those next week, and now let me get our math work ready.